Well, it's the middle of February, and if you are like any savvy Vancouverite who is up to the know in Vancouver real estate, you're probably wondering, are we going to see a spring market? Is 2026 going to be similar to 2025? When are things going to improve? Is the market going to crash? Well, I don't have a crystal ball and I'm not going to answer all of those questions, but in this video, I am going to give you some insight here that if you are thinking about making moves this year, that you're definitely going to want to listen to. If you want to know everything that's going on in the Vancouver real estate market, make sure you subscribe below. My name is Megan Becker. I'm a local realtor here, and myself and my team get calls every day from people looking to make moves in the greater Vancouver area. So tap the bell to be the first to hear what's going on. And if you're considering making a move, all my info is in the description box below. So please reach out. Okay, let's chat about stats here, because we can see stats and I can read you the whole numbers. Don't worry, I won't read you just number for number. But what I want to do is provide some context around it. I just got off a call with a lady. She's 21 years old. She's going to be looking at purchasing her first home in the next handful of years here. And she asked a very common question that I get. She's like, I hear my colleagues talking about real estate and it just kind of goes over my head. Like, I don't know what to believe. Is it a good time to buy? Is it not a good time to buy? And she was asking a few other questions. And I get this question a lot. I said, here's the thing with stats and real estate in the media is that it's very generalized. And stats are on average. On average, year 2025, we were down year over year significantly. It was the slowest year in sales that we've seen in over 20 years. But there were pockets that were quite active in and around the Vancouver area. And so real estate is hyper local. So if you're considering making a move, definitely I would love for you to reach out. There's no obligation. I'm not, the pushy realtor that's, going to tell you now is the only time to buy. And if you don't buy now, you're missing out. That's definitely not how I run my business. But I want to help you understand hyper local real estate, because that will help you make your decision on what you want to do. So let's chat numbers here. So just to give you a quick rundown, like I said, not going to bore you with all the numbers and read things word for word here, but when we just look at January of 2026, we are at just over 1,100 sales here, which is down about 30% year over year since last January. We've got just over 12,000 listings, which is up 10% year over year. And if we're looking at benchmark sale price, so we talk about benchmark sale price, and the reason why we don't say average is because, as we go back to our math lessons, is, if you benchmark is the typical property in that area, and we call that the benchmark property, because if we look, say there's a property that sold for 750,000. There was one that sold for 800,000. There was one that sold for 900,000. There was one that sold for 650. And then there was another one that sold for 3 million. Well, that 3 million is going to really skew the average. So we want to look at that cluster. And I would say benchmark is more closer to like a median if we're going back to number terms there. But for detached properties, we're sitting at about 1.85 million, which is down 7% year over year. And the sales to active listing ratio there, we're sitting about 6.7%. So that is definitely across the board. I'm talking averages, a buyer's market for detached properties. We've seen a lot of opportunities there, but there have been pockets of areas for detached homes like Mount Pleasant that have seen huge increases. If we're looking at attached properties here, our benchmark sale price, we're at just over 1 million. We're at 1,043,000, which is down 5% year over year. And then apartments, we're sitting at 705,000, which is down 6% year over year. Attached properties, we're sitting at 11% sales to active listing ratio, and apartments, we're at 10% there. So anything really under that 12%, we're sitting in that buyer's market there. And The reason why I'm sharing this, and I want to share you a little bit of a story, and I shared this with somebody earlier today that we're going to start looking for properties. I said, yes, there's more inventory. Yes, sale prices down. But one of the things to watch out for if you are looking for homes right now is to get your pre-approval and to make sure that you're ready and your realtor is preparing you on how to be ready. And this is what I said. So the property type that you're looking for, it is likely going to be an attractive property type, just the criteria and the price range and everything like that. I said one of the things that we can potentially expect to happen is a listing agent taking a strategy of listing at a lower than kind of fair market value price and pricing it really aggressively to get a lot of eyeballs on it. So let's say the property, for sake of numbers, we look at fair market value, we look at similar properties, what they're selling for. Let's say it's around 2 million. And this realtor prices her property at 1.8 million. I'm going to see that and we're going to have a conversation about that. I said, these guys have priced it really aggressively. They're expecting to get multiple offers. I expect this property is probably going to sell around the 2 million mark. And so I can prepare my clients on how to go into that so that it's not as stressful. And that if we go 200,000 over list, we're still getting a great deal on the property because we're paying similar to what similar properties are selling for. We're not overpaying by 200,000. And it's a conversation I've had with quite a few people recently because we are seeing properties. I've been in multiple offers over the last, all of last year. There are multiple situations where something very similar to exactly what I described happened. And if you're not prepared for that, you're thinking like, oh, sales are down, inventory is high, oh, I've got time, I don't need to act with urgency. Well, I always say to my clients, regardless of the market, real estate, you always need to act with urgency. And I will tell you when we've got time, but I also prepare you to make sure that you're ready in the event that the right property comes up and we need to act fast there. So it's one of the things just to be aware of. And so that's why I go back to what I said in the beginning is real estate is hyper local. So if you're wanting to sell this year, it would be a conversation, and I've had this conversation with multiple people, is, what's the reason for selling? What is the reason? An opportunity that I have seen is people that are upsizing because, like we always know, Warren Buffett says, you make money on the buy. So bigger properties appreciate more. So there is opportunity there if you're looking at upsizing. Yes, you're not going to make maybe what you desire on your sale, but you're going to capitalize on the buy, and real estate is that long game. So we're going to make money in the long term there. Real estate, it's a buy and hold. It's a long investment play. It's not a quick, day trading type mindset here. And so I never want to give off that impression. If you're downsizing, it might be a little tricky there and really figuring out, okay, what are your goals? What are your resources? And what's your motivation for moving? And then understanding, how to capitalize and get the most out of that move. And that's something that I can set up with a one-on-one conversation. And I can talk about strategy on how to capitalize on that. But there's a lot of opportunities in the market right now. It's something that there's a lot of people that are just sitting and waiting, and it's understandable. There's a lot of stuff going on in the economy right now that is understandable why people are doing that. But when people are sitting on the sidelines, that's when opportunities are being found. And so again, my goal is not to pressure anyone or into buying, but it's to create opportunities and create perspective on what's going on in the market right now. So if you're curious about making a move, or you want to see what that would look like, or if you're even toying it around like, hey, I've got some money, it doesn't even make sense to get into the market right now, what are the opportunities? Let's have a conversation. We can run some numbers. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about the real estate market or want to explore making a move, all my info is in the description box below. So please reach out and remember to like and subscribe and share this with a friend. We'll see you next month.